It was very nearly a disaster. Stay tuned and all will be revealed. Good afternoon everyone and welcome back to Piccadilly Eastway. Now you can see I've got the water in. Why didn't I do that on the video? Well, this is real water and it's part of my sort of leak test, if you like, because I think now we're at the end of May and we're just about to go into a little bit of a heat wave. We're probably going to be all right to put the resin in. Hopefully it's not too hot now. You can't make it up, can you? But anyway, this is the plan for the next few days. I'm sort of putting the warehouse on temporary hold. You can see where I am with that, and I'll explain that in the next video. I have had a few issues with this, and I'd rather have water all over the carpet than resin, as you can appreciate. Oh boy, did I have water all over the carpet. This area here was a bit like a floodgate because obviously it breached the top of the barrier, if you like. Now it does look an absolute sight over there. As you can see, I've got all this acetate in here and hot glue all the way around the edge, so that looks a right old mess. But when the resin does go in, I'll peel all that out and tidy it up. But do remember there are two bridges going here, so I don't think it's going to be so much of an issue. One bridge obviously is going to be for this station, the track coming off this point and going into the station, which is going to be there, and then there's going to be a viaduct coming in over here. So a lot of this water area in this particular region, if you like, is going to be hidden. If it does become a bit of an issue, I can always create another bit of an extension to the riverbed and just put a piece of acetate over the top and Mod Podge over the top of that. So I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem, to be fair. But anyway, you can see I've also peeled back this sort of foliage area, if you like, and that is there, the papier-mâché section. And once the river is in and all gone off, I'll pull that back, glue it down and get it all foliaged up with lots of reeds and all sorts of bits and bobs going around the outside. So that should be quite nice as well. I think at the moment I just need to leave it for maybe a few hours, maybe even till tomorrow. It's about 11:30 on Saturday morning on the 23rd at the moment. So we'll see how it goes in the next little while, and hopefully there will be no leaks involved so I can get on with the resin. Well, what do we have here then? Well, you can see everything's all been covered up and all underneath as well. Well, better safe than sorry, I suppose, and just hope that things don't go all awry. But I've covered up all the trains as best I can. We should be all right from now on in, and so on and so on and so on. So this is the stuff I'm going to be using then. So this is craft resin, and this time it's the deep pour, because the other one you can use up to about 3 mil, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. So this will give me a little bit deeper pour. It's 48-hour curing, and when you open it up you get 3 bottles, and you can see there it's 2 bottles of the resin and 1 bottle of the hardener, so which means you need two parts of that to 1 part of that, and it says it there on the box. Okay then, so I've got my 3 bottles of resin. I've got an old bowl which I'm going to do the main mixing in, and then I'm going to decant it into that smaller pot, if you like. Around this way I've got some brown paint there and an amount of blue roll should I need it, and also I've got an old spatula which I don't use for cooking anymore, I bet you can't guess why, and a stick for once for mixing once the stuff is in there. So my first job then is to pour the whole pot. This is the resin. As I said, I'm going to tip in a whole of it. I'm not going to make you watch me do all of this. I'll catch you in a minute. Right, so it's literally just a case now of mixing it up, and this is going to take a few minutes. So again, you just see what I'm doing, and I'll come back to you in a bit. Okay, I've got some brown paint. I'm really not going to put a lot in. I'll move it so you can see. It's literally just a little drip at a time. I did see a video the other day. Now, I'm not sure it was Martin from WWS or whether it was Pete Waterman, who was advocating not colouring the resin. And I must admit, it got me thinking. And I was going to go with not a complete brown mix anyway. I want you to be able to see the bottom of the river, because there's no point in putting it in. And that was the same thinking that they were using. This is really tough to come out. So my thought is that I colour it a little bit and I go like a halfway house. That's assuming this paint comes out, of course. It's really taking its time. There we go. That's all I'm going to put in for this little bit. Now, hopefully, I've not put too much in. So I'm just going to colour it in. I'll move it around. Hopefully that's going to take and it's not gone all gloopy. That doesn't look good though, does it? It says we could put all different types of paint in. Right, here. I'm beginning to wonder if I've made a mistake putting this stuff in now. But I'll mix it in, and hopefully I can break it down and get some form of tint on it. I'll come back to you in a minute. Well, you can't make this up. It proves that this stuff is not really that compatible, to be honest. And as you can see, it's gone, well, the particles have broken down by quite a lot. And as you can probably see from the reflection just there, I did end up using the plaster mixer on the end of the drill, and I'll probably do it a little bit more, to be honest. But it's going, the particles are going, and I think it's almost coming to the point really where I can probably cope with it, live with it, because the riverbed isn't flat and perfect. Right, here we go then. I'm not going to show everything, but certainly get the idea of the start of it. So it's literally just a case of going up through the middle to this part here. Obviously I don't want it all over the structures. I mean, it's turned out to be a little bit bubbly, but to be honest with you, I think that's going to be all right. Now, I'll keep fiddling with it until I've got as much done as I want. I'm not sure I've got enough. Might have to get a bit more. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Okay, so that's all of the water in. That's 1.5 litres. And to be honest, if I just zoom in, I think that's all right, you know. And with regard to all those speckly bits, you can barely see it because of the texture of the water, the base anyway. I think I am going to get another set of a deep pour and just pour it clear over the top, just to make it a bit deeper, because it is a little bit shallow at that end. So I'll get that done and I'll show you. It'll probably, I have to let this set for a couple of days, and then once that's set, then I can put the next one on top, I think. But anyway, I'll show you shortly. Right, as I've come to a bit of an impasse on the layout, I'm afraid, because the resin's gone in, and there needs to be another layer going on the top to make it a bit deeper. I can't do anything on the layout at all, just in case I knock the resin or cause it to overspill or set in a funny shape or whatever. So I thought I'll steer clear of the layout for the time being. I thought, well, as this is part of the scene, I might as well make a start on this. I'll keep you updated. So there we are. The second batch of water is now in, and that is a much more decent depth all the way through to the back there. So I'm really quite pleased with that. The second batch, I didn't put any colour in it at all, just transparent. And I think that's emphasised the depth of the water. It does feel like it's quite deep now, because obviously I painted quite dark in the middle. So I'm really happy with that. Now, the other thing I've noticed, you can see it there, there is a slight ripple effect on the top. And we had the very similar sort of effect when I finished putting in the first batch, when that had just gone off. So I'm guessing that is a bit of a thing with the deep pour, that you do get this ripple effect. You can see it on the picture there, can't you? How ripply that looks. Not that it matters at all, because I'm going to be putting Mod Podge on the top in a minute to create ripples. So anyway, let's crack on with that. And okay then, for this I'm obviously using some Mod Podge gloss, and all I'm going to do is literally just dab it on, and then we'll create ripples. But you'll also notice just over there, there is a footprint, if you like, of Mayflower. Now, I did in an earlier clip show you that I was going to start it, because obviously once the resin was in, I couldn't do anything to the layout whatsoever, in case that I'd knock it or create a spill, and I really didn't want resin all over the carpet, etc, etc. So I thought it was just easier to get on with something else. So I am gonna go round that. So I'll leave a small gap, and then when Mayflower is finished, then I can put it on afterwards. Now, I am going to put this up with the board around it, and then once the ripples are done, then I'll take all this lot out around the outside. But it's literally just a case of just going in and just dabbing it on like so. I will try and get it a little bit thicker than that, just using what's in the cap. So on and so on. I'll do a little bit more. And you've probably seen me or certainly other YouTubers doing this. There are quite a few videos out there. So there it is. That's all the Mod Podge on, as you can see. And as I said before, I've left that area for the Mayflower. There's no point in putting that in until it's finished, and then I can Mod Podge around the outside of it and decide whether I glue it down or just leave an impression for it to go and sit back into. I don't know at the moment. But the idea is that the water comes from this direction here, hits this side of the wall there, the inside of the viaduct, and then sort of straightens itself out a little bit and comes along, and it hits again here, and then straightens out, and then sort of goes around the corner over there. So hopefully that should be okay. You'll notice that I've done certain bits in lines, because water does tend to move in mini waves, so that's the idea of that. Okay, now just a little quickie thing. You might have noticed that the little tunnel section that I had there has gone. It's not going to work. So what I'm thinking then is cut this board down a bit more, and then have the river going along, and then sort of into a culvert type of thing, so it goes off underground under the layout, that type of stuff. You probably won't see an awful lot of it. An indication that the river just disappears into the distance will probably be what I'm aiming for. All right, I'll catch you shortly. So there it is. The water is in. Now, I have to say, before anybody comments, the Mod Podge has been done 2 days now, and I'll be honest, I thought it would be dry by now, and when I did it in the past, it certainly was. Now, that section over there is probably the driest, particularly in that far corner, where that yesterday that was a little bit more like this. So it is giving me a little bit more hope that it will dry up. I just need to leave it. I'm guessing what's happened is that the glue has formed a skin over the top, and then pockets of glue have been captured inside, and they are taking a little while to, dry off. But this section here is a lot better than it was yesterday morning, so I think it's just a case of waiting 2 or 3 days, see what happens, and I'll come back to you. Worst comes to the worst, and I really don't want to be doing this, is to peel it all off. And it does come off, and I know that because I did exactly that down there. I'll talk about that section in a minute, but I mean, generally speaking, I am pleased to some degree, but other parts, I just wished it would be a little bit more clear. At the end of the day, though, it does look a little bit like white water, I suppose. That's the other way of looking at it. And there you can see the stones underneath. So hopefully this area will become a bit clearer so you can see things more readily. I mean, that section over in the corner there where the piece of track is, that's all clear. So, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Now, the next thing, as you'll probably have noticed, is Mayflower. And I did say in the video that I was going to start this. Now, this is not a simple build. I have to be honest, it is going to be quite challenging, and I haven't got to the most challenging bit with the rigging and all that sort of stuff yet, but a very enjoyable one nonetheless. So as you can see, I've just got the basic structure in, and I've painted up the basic colours there as per what it is now. And yes, that badge on the back there, it looks like some kind of butterfly at the moment, but it is actually different to that, and I'll try and replicate that as best I can. But and the other thing is I've had to cut the bottom off, and the reason for that is because I wanted it to sit more correctly in the water. This water does look a lot deeper than what was originally intended, so actually I'm quite pleased about that side of it. So Mayflower now is lining up to the dock just across there, so a board would be put in there and people would just walk across. That's a lot more realistic, I suppose. So I'm looking forward to getting all the masts done and things like that. I'll just update you periodically where I am with that. I'm not going to do separate videos as such. Now, moving around here, you'll notice that this section is no longer there, and the reason for that is because, as I said before, it's just not going to work. You'll notice I've put 3 windows in down there for the warehouse, and that was sitting directly in front of one of those windows. And then when you look at it from the other side, you think, well, what is it? Is it a building? Is it some kind of storage or what? It wasn't blatantly obvious what it was. So what I've decided to do was to cut the backboard, this board here, so that the river can continue, and I might be able to use some of the other resin that I've still got left to do that, and then continue the platform for a little bit longer along there, and then have a very low culvert so it looks like the water is then going underground, so to speak. So that's the general plan for that bit. It still slides, by the way. This bridge still comes off. I will have to remove Mayflower, but it all works. And coming over to this area here, you'll notice that I've got some arches in there. They are part of the main line, because obviously I can't just have a floating main line over the top. So that's, I had to address that somehow. And you may be able to notice that the river isn't quite long enough. So I'm in the process of making another section, which I'll just glue on the end, just a piece of acetate, maybe some Mod Podge over the top. Just don't know yet. You're not going to see an awful lot of it under there anyway. So this bit here, and you'll see the tracks there, will be possibly a bowstring bridge coming into the station, which is there, which will be served by the 755s. And eventually there will be a viaduct coming in over here, have a bridge going over the river, and then into an upper level heritage station, which effectively will appear to go off into the distance, that type of thing. So there's lots happening. And then lastly, we've got this section here now, which has been re-glued, and as you can see, I've put some greenery on it. Nowhere close to finish, because I want it to look more like this area down here. And one of the things that I really want to be able to do is to put lots of tall trees and bushes and all sorts of bits and bobs like that. So you have to peek through, a little bit like there's the 800 coming round now, a bit like this. So you just notice something just coming through the distance and just poking through the trees and the scenery. That's the type of effect I want for both ends of the layout, so that you don't come in and see everything all in one go. You know, I think it just adds that element of mystery about it. But anyway, I think I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you've enjoyed it. And certainly that scene has come on in leaps and bounds over this past week or so, as the two trains pass each other. There's the 37, and obviously with the Curacao releasing their third batch of 37s. That's the first generation one, 402. So as you can see, running absolutely beautifully, no issues with that whatsoever. But anyway, take care of yourself, and I will see you again very, very soon here on Piccadilly Eastway. Bye bye. Take care.